Hi, my name is Aakruti Desai. I'm here with FemExec, and today I'm sitting down with Jothi Dugar, who is CEO of Power of Healing 360 and Bollynatyam Masala. Hi.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, no worries. Could you give us a quick explanation on both of your businesses, please?
Sure. So during the day, I actually work for the federal government, but I guess you could say by night, I have these two businesses. So Power of Healing 360 is more of holistic wellness for everyone, kids, women, men. So I actually focus on a mind, body, energy connection which is inside all of us, and how to use just simple, easy, and effective techniques to keep us sane and actually embrace the chaos in our lives and actually move to a state of peace, but then move even beyond that to a state of just pure excitement and joy of life. And I bring in those same concepts to the dance company as well. So I do teach, again, children, kids and of all ages and adults. And we perform at various venues like the NBA, WNBA halftime shows, as well as other venues as well. And I try to combine all of these mind, body, energy techniques into the dance practice as well. So people have a way to kind of release the unnecessary chaos in their lives.
Okay, you seem like a really busy woman.
Yeah, I forgot I had three kids too. So.
Yeah. So could you give us like a daily routine, or what do you do throughout the day where you have to manage your home life and all of these different tasks?
So I feel like I was kind of put into this place for a reason, into the wellness space, because I do cybersecurity during the day for the federal government. And, the days were just really stressful and would just get really tired. Then you would come home and face more stress and tiredness, with your family and kids. And, everything happens for a reason. So after the birth of my third baby, there's a lot of mistakes that were made by my OB. So I actually ended up not being able to walk for about a year. I was kind of like stuck to the bed, but I kind of took that up, and I was given 6 weeks to live. Unless I got multiple surgeries. So I took that as an opportunity to look for other, there has to be another way. So and there was. So I actually found a whole slew of holistic natural modalities out there. And it took me a good 2.5 years to like really get back to a functional state again. But I was able to without any additional surgeries. I made it past that 6 week mark. So that's really what got me into the wellness industry. And then once you go that route, I think there's no turning back. So little by little, I learned how to get myself well again. And then not just to a state of just, wellness and just kind of coping with life, but I felt like, okay, let's just keep going. Like, let's see what else is out there. I wanted to like wake up every day feeling excited for the day, not just feeling like, oh, okay, it's Monday again. I have to do all of these things. So I think as I learned, everything came with experience and trying different things out and then trying to integrate these things together. So I took like the best parts of each of these modalities and formed like my own way of my own techniques. So I think the more people that saw me, like, wow, you're like a different person. You're so excited. Like, well, how do you do it? So then people started coming to me, well, can you teach us? So that's kind of how I, moved into the wellness route. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Like maybe I should just be formally trained on these, and then try to integrate everything together so that I can form like my own practice and start helping others. So I think for me, it was just, I was given that experience for a reason, and then just making the best use of it, and then trying to give back and help others. That's why I get up in the morning. So it's like there's never a day I would be like, well, I don't really feel like helping anyone today. There are times I would feel that, but then just the act of giving to others and helping someone else out just makes me feel great myself. So it's almost like a win-win.
Yeah. And how did you get into your dance company?
So dance is one thing that I have always done. When I started when I was 3, I think, just dancing myself. So I danced my whole life. And then I think after having 2 kids, I thought to myself, like, well, probably no one wants to see me dance anymore. So maybe not. So maybe I should start teaching others. So again, that was actually given to me by experience. So I would take my daughter to another dance studio, and I would just get really bored just waiting in the hallway while she was dancing. So and I was good friends with the director, and I asked her, like, well, would you mind if I just do some sort of like dancer size classes for the other parents that are also waiting there? And that took off. Everyone was like really delighted to just be spending their time while instead of just sitting there waiting for their kids to be done. So I started by teaching adults, and then I kind of moved on to, I found that my real passion was with kids as well, just to see them grow and just become more and more confident in themselves. So then I started teaching kids. So now I teach both adults and kids.
Oh, okay, great. As far as since you have experience in like a traditional job, which is working for the government, have you seen any discrimination, at least working in your government job or going on to being a CEO? And when you're trying to close deals, a lot of people say to me when I'm interviewing them is when they were trying to close a deal and the other person said, well, don't you need to ask your husband before you finish closing the deal? So just if you've experienced something like that, if you could share it.
Sure. Yeah. So being in cyber, it's already it's an uphill battle because there's only about 10% to 13% of women in cyber to begin with globally. And then being an executive in cyber, it's like probably less than 1%. So I found that one, you're already going on an uphill battle just to get the job, but then once you get the job, you're continuing to go an uphill battle to prove why you got the job. Almost on I wouldn't say on a daily basis. Once there's a point where once you establish yourself, you do gain that respect and familiarity with people. But most of the time, if you're a female executive in the cyber or technology world, you're leading a group of men. So it's really trying to, it's one first you have to prove why you were selected for the role and they weren't, because most of the time they would have applied for your job and may not have gotten it. But once you're past that point, it's continuing to prove why you're still good for the role. And then so at some point you get to a balance and okay, people understand you're there, but then there has been times where people I've had where people are trying to purposely do things to bring you down or just start rumors and things like that. And I don't see that happening a lot between like men to men, but I've seen that happen when there's a female leader that's trying to lead a group of men, and it's like they try to do whatever they can sometimes if they're insecure themselves. I wouldn't say all men, of course, but if they have a lot of insecurities in themselves and they're trying to do whatever they can to pull you down. And I took that as some, it is hard to go through, I'm not going to lie, but I took it as an opportunity to get stronger myself. So not allowing them to turn me, pull me down, or not really feeling I have to respond to them with like, well, what makes you any special? I'm like, well, I don't really need to answer that. So it sounds like there's a lot of insecurities where they're coming from. So that's something that they have to work on, but I don't have to immediately react or respond to those kinds of comments.
So was like cybersecurity or something in the tech field, was that what you studied in college?
So when I went to college, it didn't really exist as a major, but I did electrical engineering. So again, it was a pretty male-dominated field even back then, and I think it's still male-dominated even now. So I think pretty much all my life, for some reason, I just gravitated towards male-dominated fields for some reason. and having to kind of, work my way into it and succeed in those areas. But it really did help me to uh, to kind of learn how to think think strategically and problem solve. But then now combine that with my dance experience, that's more on the creative, artistic side. So I think overall, all of these things just kind of made me like a well-rounded person, which kind of helps in any field.
Okay. And as far as how you kind of started with a government traditional job and then moved on into the entrepreneurship mode. So, what is one thing that you didn't expect to do when running a business? Because at the end of the day, we're all just following our passion. Your passion is for wellness. You want to help other people, but at the end of the day, it's still business. So you do have to do those little tiny, sometimes tedious clerical work, bookkeeping, all those things. So was there something that you found that you had to start to do and you didn't like it at all?
Yeah, there's lots of things. So yeah, like you said it beautifully. Like, we become entrepreneurs because we're trying to do something for someone else, and we find that it's valuable for them. It's also valuable for us, and it would be great if we can just do that, like what we're really passionate about, and not worry about the rest of the business part. But obviously we can't do that, especially when we're first starting out. Maybe once we get established, we can hire others. But yeah, for me, it was actually, I care really deeply about the people that I help, either in the wellness or if I'm teaching someone. I keep the dance classes, to a small number so that I can really focus on each student. And I hate dealing with the money part, and especially having to enforce your contracts or your rules. If you're like, hey, you have to pay by this date, and then when they don't, it's like you have to go to the parents, or you have to go to back to your clients and be like, okay, well, so it was kind of due like 2 weeks ago, and technically, I would be charging you interest. And it just becomes like a very uncomfortable conversation. And then so, and if you're a large corporation, then I think it's, you don't really care about each and every single client, and it's easy to be like, okay, well, now you owe $200 instead of $20. And then we're going to send the bad guys after you. But it became like, just very uncomfortable. And then even making it more official, like it is a business. It's, I'm not here just volunteering my time freely, and just kind of making that value to the other person. That was one thing. And the other part is I'm just totally not a salesperson. So just learning the media marketing and all, funnels and email, things like that. I was like, okay, well, can I just talk about what I love, and people will just come to me. And I found out the hard way, like, oh, that's not how the world works. So like, what do you mean? So, what do you mean I have to have a copy for a website? Like, what do you mean I have to speak in a certain language? I'm like, oh, I just speak what's on my mind, and I try to give so much value to others when I speak to them. So I think I'm still working on that. Like, it's probably not 100%, but I think these are things that I would rather not learn or not know about. But unfortunately, when you have a business, you kind of have to go to the places that doesn't really excite you sometimes.
How the small business differs from a larger corporation, and in both industries that you're in, both dance and wellness, they do have larger multinational corporations that are kind of um, well, seen obviously as a competitor to your businesses. So how have you been able to still get those customers, maintain that loyalty, at least in your area, and continue to get business when these other corporations can provide that more standardized and sometimes more reliable service?
Sure. Yeah. So it's an important point. I mean, you do have to know who your competitors are, and really like research them, see what they're doing, see what's working for them. Because I always believe in learning from others as well. You're not going to know everything yourself. So see what they're doing right and maybe take some, helpful tips and what they're doing right. But then everyone has their own genius zone. So I'm actually doing an online course called The Doer's Way, by Grace Lever, and she teaches something called everyone has a unique thing or skill or just a way approach. Everyone has something that's unique to them, and your own experiences and stories and everything that you've gone through is unique to you. So it's almost like looking inward to see, well, what makes you different from maybe a large corporation. And for me, especially from a dance company, it was keeping the class sizes small and then really getting to know each student for who they are as a whole person. So you can start helping them out, not just in their dance, but also in other aspects of life. And then from the wellness perspective, again, the same thing. Like there are, hundreds of companies that do wellness, and thousands or millions of wellness practitioners. But it's kind of finding like, well, what's your niche? What are the type of people that you gravitate towards that you feel like you're really passionate about helping? Because you can't really. I did make this mistake in the beginning, like, oh, I want to help everyone with everything, and that's great. But then it doesn't really focus you into where you can really make like a really deep impact on someone, not just like a superficial level. So again, yeah, so it's finding your niche, believing that you do have a unique genius zone. So just because somebody else is doing the exact same thing as you, but their genius zone might be completely different from yours. And your approach might be different from theirs. And also sometimes it's finding that, what is it that makes a difference? So you might be teaching wellness or dance or cyber, and I might be doing the exact same things, but then maybe the way I teach it is different, or also what I teach is different. Especially in the wellness world, there's just so much like out there in terms of natural healing modalities that even if we're teaching the exact same modality, and it might still be like a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You're not only marketing your service, but you're marketing how you teach your service. And that's what's
Right.
really at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
I also had a question regarding how you kind of balanced a more like inflexible career with the most flexible career there is, which is entrepreneurship. I noticed that you said that you had children while you were doing your government career. So I wanted to see what your experience was with maternity leave and how you were able to balance your life as a mom, helping raise your kids, and also manage businesses, because businesses are like babies. You have to take care of them they're a baby, because they are such a big investment for you.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in time management, but it's not the way most people think of it, because they're like, well, how do you find time? Like, well, you don't find time. Time has always existed since day one, but you make time. And the way you make, at least what I believe, the way you make time is finding the things finding a purpose in things that you do and feeling fulfilled from them. So I have never stayed in any job where I felt like it was a drag to get up and go every day, or just feel like, oh, you're just another cog in the wheel. It's like the same thing like all the time. So and I did try those kind of jobs, and just for like the money when I was younger. And I had to learn for myself, like, okay, this is just not for me. I'm not that type of person that I can just have a job for the sake of having a job. So I really needed to find a job that that I believed in the mission of the organization, and that I felt that I added value, and I could take that organization to a place where I thought set them up for success. So it's almost kind of like finding the type of job that you're meant to have, that truly you can get up in the morning and feel excited to go or excited to do, from a full-time job perspective. But also it's finding the purpose in the daily things that you do as well. So yes, there are things that you might have to do, just like a business, you know, yes, you have to wash dishes or clean your house, and you might feel like, well, that doesn't really make me happy. What's the purpose? You know, how do I find purpose in that? Like, well, um, that's when I think being resourceful and really boiling down your funding to the penny kind of helps, because most people think that, well, I don't have the budget to hire external staff or like a cleaning service. But if you kind of start looking at how else are you spending your money, you might be really surprised, because most people tend to spend money on things that they didn't even realize they were spending money on. Maybe there's a subscription that you signed up for once and you just forgot to cancel it, and now you're being billed like on a monthly basis. Even if it's like $5, but it starts to add up. Or maybe there's something, you know, that, you know, there's actually a natural hair color that, but now you're going to, that you can do on your own, uh, probably even better than the salon, but then you're spending like hundreds of dollars going to a salon. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you really start to break down your time and your money, you'll probably find that there's a lot of like leeway there, even your time. Because people are like, okay, I don't have time. That's great that you're making the time, but we just absolutely don't have any time in the day. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's see how you're spending it. You know, write down exactly, you know, in your blocks of time, like how much time do you spend sleeping? How much time do you spend talking on the phone with a friend? How much time do you spend on, you know, so at some point in time, if you start doing that for, you know, a couple of weeks, you can really see, okay, so instead of spending my money on that, if I just kind of spend it on hiring, you know, outside resources to do a couple of my jobs, like maybe I need a nanny for a couple hours, or maybe I just, you know, I don't want to. What is your time worth is really the question, you know. So rather than me spending 2 hours cleaning the house or 3 hours cleaning the house every week, what if I just resource that out, but then use that time wisely as well? So that's the part that I think a lot of people miss. Like, oh yeah, I got these resources, but then I just slept for 3 hours. I'm like, okay, well, if you need that sleep to rejuvenate, that's great. But if you're just sleeping, you know, oversleeping, then you're really not making that money back in a, you know, an effective way. So it's just kind of like these wellness hacks that I try to use at work, but also at home. That seems to be like, you know, helping out in all aspects.
Okay. Um, so how far back did you start your businesses, your wellness business and the dance company?
So the wellness is relatively new, just because before that I was mostly helping friends and family, and it wasn't really a business, you know, it was just kind of, okay, well, you know, here's how I can help you. Let's try this out. More getting that experience. So that started this year, like beginning of this year. And then my dance I've been doing for about 5 years now. So both are relatively new. But my biggest, I think, what I've been trying to do is merge everything into one. So, you know, it's hard to merge cyber into dance and wellness, but then I've actually been finding a way to merge the dance and wellness into my cyber world. So I actually started a health and wellness department in my organization. So I can teach like Bollynatyam, like fitness classes. I can also teach like wellness techniques for the IT population, which has been a great success, and people are really needing this kind of outlet.
Yeah. So however many years ago this mental journey and then it turned out to be a business journey that started, what would you have said to the Jothi who wanted to start this, who was determined to make this one of her passions? Anything that you've learned across your years of experience that if you could go back, you would tell her?
Sure. I mean, you know, when you're first starting, you know, everything seems scary, and you know, there's a lot of anxiety. Like, is it going to work? You know, what if I say the wrong thing? And this kind of podcast, I don't think I would have ever imagined me doing, maybe like even 2 years ago. So it's just kind of like taking that first step. So I'd probably tell you, you know, just take the first step. You don't need to know what's going to happen, like, 10 steps later. Just know that, until you take the first step, you're not going to go anywhere. So it's, so I would probably like use the reference of a GPS. Someone told me this once, like, when you enter a destination in the GPS, you don't really know all the steps the GPS is going to make you go through to get to that destination. But you just have to believe that you will get to the destination, and then just go, just follow the GPS, like, one step at a time, and just have that faith that you will get there. So I think that I was when I was younger, and I think before I started all of this, there was always that anxiety, like, well, and like you said, oh, there's so much competition out there, like, who am I to be any different from them? Why would people come to me? But something told me, but it is the right thing to do. So I think it's also like listening to my intuition, and giving that a lot of importance, because a lot of times I think as women we tend to do things that other people want. Maybe our parents want us to just stick with your government job. Hey, it's stable, so just do that, and why are you doing all this other stuff? But when you listen to your heart, like, you're never gonna go wrong, even if it's not successful as a business per se, but your learning experience from that will always be good for you. So whatever you learn from that, you can always use it in anywhere you go.
All right. And for my final question, what advice do you have to the future female business owners that are listening?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it I covered already, but again, it's not being afraid of who you are authentically, and bringing that shining. Don't be afraid to shine your light. Everyone has a light. Everyone has a genius zone. Everyone is unique in their own ways. So don't look at somebody else as competition, or be fearful of competition, that no one's going to come to you. Like, you're the only person that's and you're the only person that's gone through your own experiences and can bring that to light, and help others with what they're going through. So just not, don't be afraid of shining your light, and just be authentic and genuine. You don't have to put on a masculine mask or any other mask just to please others.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Where can our followers find you and your businesses?
Sure. So if you just go to www.jothidugar.com, so it's JOTHI Dugar DUGAR.com. That's my website. Or you can feel free to email me at JOTHI.Dugar DUGAR at gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.